Hello friends, welcome back to Piping Engineers. In today's video, we will see about Factories Act 1942. So friends, this is second video for Factories Act 1942 series. In first video, we have covered till section 8. So what are the clauses that have been mentioned in Factories Act 1948? So that have been covered in video 1. So this is second part of the same series. So guys, for more videos and updates, please like, follow and subscribe to our channel. So let's begin our today's video and learn further about what are the sections that have been mentioned in Factories Act 1948. So guys, the next section, that is section 9. Section 9, the powers of inspectors have been told. So what are the powers of inspectors that inspector can exercise, that they have been mentioned in this Factories Act 1948 section 9. So what powers a factory inspector have? So he can enter factory premises for investigation anytime. So this is one of the power that a factory inspector has. He can examine the premises. He can inquire into any accident or dangerous occurrence, require production of any prescribed register or document, seize and take copies of any register, record or other document, take measurements and photographs, exercise such other powers as may be prescribed. No person shall be compelled under this section to answer any question or give any evidence tending to incriminate himself. So if we talk about all these things that have been mentioned in this section 9, so it makes the whole and sole owner uh, of the factory. So he is all and he's above each and everyone. So the factory inspector, he has every power to enter factory premises. He can investigate anything. He can take the report of any of the incident or accident that have been happened in the factory. He can seize any site where this incident has happened. He can take any document and any register. So that is related with the safety and other things of the factory. So you can say after owner or more than owner, he has the powers. So these are the powers that they have been mentioned in section 9 of Factories Act. So moving further, in section 10, so section 10 is about certifying surgeon. So certifying surgeon is, you have seen in many industries are very hazardous, as in like your chemical industries, steel industries, or they emit some chemicals that are not proper for human beings. So certifying as a surgeon, the government can appoint any certifying surgeon. So about the certifying surgeon, it has been mentioned in section 10 of Factories Act 1948. So it says state government may appoint qualified medical practitioners to be certifying surgeons. So what are the duty of the surgeons? The examination and certification of young persons under this act, the examination of persons engaged in factories and dangerous occupation or processes. So certifying surgeons can inspect the factory and he may examine the persons that are working in the factory to know whether the situations in the factory, or where the conditions the person is working, they are good for his health or not. He may supervising the factory where cases of illness have been occurred. So there are cases that people inhale toxic gases, people drink toxic water. So he may go and inspect all those cases. Due to manufacturing process, there is a likelihood of injury. So he may even take the report of likelihood of the injury to any health workers or young persons that are employed in any work which is likely to cause injury to their health. So all those conditions, they can be checked by the certifying surgeon that have been appointed by the state government. So moving ahead, the next section is cleanliness. Well, yes, the cleanliness is one of the most important thing, and we maintain our cleanliness around everywhere. So this is also been covered in Factories Act 1948. So under this section, the working condition should be clean and safe. So why it is clean and safe? Because the person where he is working, he should have a very healthy and good condition of the environment where he works. So this should be clean and safe, so that his health doesn't deteriorate because of working. So what are the things that have been mentioned? The factory owner should make the rules. The floor should be clean at least once a week by washing or by some effective method. So all those things, they have been already covered. So if there is housekeeping going on in your organization, so it's the job of the owner or job of the occupier that he has to maintain the cleanliness. Effective means of drainage should be provided. Effective means of drainage should be there, and even whitewash he has to do every 14 weeks. He has to maintain the whitewash, and he has to paint oblique varnish every 5 years. So all those things, these are basic things that the occupier or the owner of the factory should take care. So these are all the cleanliness things that have been mentioned in section 11. Moving on to next, disposal of waste and effluents. So you would have seen in news that we have heard about news that some factories uh, drain their toxic water in rivers, and if they drain their toxic water in some lakes. So this is illegal, and it have been mentioned under section 12. So there should be proper arrangements of disposal of waste and effluents. So why is it so? Because if improper management of waste will be done, this will impact our environment. This will impact the people they are living there. It will also lead to the health of animals that may drink that water or that may walk on that toxic surface. So other than that, all the different state governments have different rules for this. So it have been clearly mentioned this disposal of waste and effluent should be done in a proper way. And to follow this, most of the companies, they are going toward this zero liquid discharge or zero effluent discharge policies. So it is now mandatory from state and central governments that there should be no effluent coming from your plant, and it should not be openly discharged, as in olden times our rivers got polluted because of the discharges were in directly into the rivers. So all those things, the governments are very strict on this, and they are making rules day by day. Moving on to next. So next is ventilation and temperature. So a person who has to work 8 hours or 10 hours a day, he can't be like working in a toxic environment. He can't work in an environment where there is no proper ventilation and temperature is not maintained. So as per section 13, proper level of ventilation and temperature and humidity must be maintained. So this is the job of the owner. So he has to provide all those things to the workers that are working there. Other than that, in design considerations, it has to be considered that if some maintenance activity or some operation activity is being going on, there should be proper ventilation. People can't work in inhumid type of space, and proper rules are there. So that have been that needs to be followed, and proper ventilation and temperature needs to be maintained at the place of working, and make provisions for reducing excess heat. So all those things, they are basically taken into consideration while the plant designing or plant layout is being finalized. So moving on to next is dust and fumes. So you would have seen steel industries and other, like your cement industries, or they are very dusty, and some dusty and toxic gases, they are all around. So effective measures should be taken to prevent inhalation or accumulation of dust and fume. So again, there are rules and regulations that people should not get ill because of working in a bad environment. So proper measures should be taken so that dust and fumes can be evacuated from the working site. If any exhaust appliance is necessary for it, it shall be applied as near as possible to the point of origin of dust, fume, or other impurity. So again, it's a part of like HVAC. So again, ventilation and ducting should be proper, so that so that the dust and fumes that are being occurring in the environment, so they goes out, and it should not impact the health of worker. So all these things, they have been mentioned in section 14, and again it's a part of design section. While designing the plant or finalizing the plant layout, all those things are being considered by designers itself, and it is the whole and sole responsibility of the plant occupier or plant owner to maintain all these rules and regulations. Moving on to the last slide, it's about artificial humidification, section 15. So in section 15, factories in which humidity of the air is artificially increased, like in textile units kept in limits, the water used for artificial humidification to be clean. So again, if factories like cement industries or in textile industries, so there is lot of dust. So that dust is harmful for the people that are working there. So artificial humidification is, if it is required, it is to be done, because again, the like our people should not get ill if they are working there. The health of the people, it is the first priority of the owner, and safety of the people, and it is the first priority of the government as well. So we have very tight rules, and factory inspector can enter anytime and take a check of all these things. So whether the proper humidification is there, proper ventilation is there or not, proper firefighting routing have been there or not. So all those things they have been mentioned on Factories Act 1948, and it is the job or responsibility of the owner to consider all those things. So guys, I hope you would have watched this video up to here, and for first video part I have attached the link in description box, you may see here. So guys, for more video and as updates, more videos and updates, please like, follow and subscribe to our channel. So guys, thank you for watching the video.